Hello everyone and welcome back to our course on modern web development. In our previous lesson, we set up our first Next.js project using the latest practices as per Next.js 13, including the app router. Today we're going to explore how routing actually works in depth in Next.js using the app router. So once again, Next.js uses a file system-based routing system. This means that the structure of the files and folders inside the app directory defines the routes of your application. So the app router in Next.js allows us to create three different types of routes. The first one is static one, which is a fixed routes defined by the folder structure, the one that we used in our previous lesson. The second type is our nested routes within routes, allowing us for creating more of like a hierarchical structure. And the third one is dynamic routes. So routes that accept parameters, making them flexible for various inputs. And they're especially useful in creating different blocks, blog posts, etc. So now let's dive in and see how this actually works in practice. First, let's learn how to create static routes. A static route is a route that doesn't change and is defined by a specific path. In Next.js, we create static routes by creating folders and files inside the app directory. For example, to create an about page at the about route, we create a folder first, named about, inside the app directory, and inside that folder, we create a page.js file. Let's do that now. So the first step in your code editor of choice, I use GitHub Codespaces for mine. Create a new folder inside the app called about. So let's go to our app folder and create a new folder here and name it about. And inside of the about folder, we're gonna create a new page, page.js. So now let's go back to our lesson and copy the starter code. So simply add the following code to your page.js, and now let's start our development server and navigate to localhost 3000/about to see our new about page. So in order to start our server, you probably know that you have to run npm run dev, and it's going to start the development server in our browser. So we just go there, and yeah, this is our home page from the previous lesson. And now if you go to about, we should see the about us heading and the welcome message. This is how we create a static route in Next.js using the app router. Now let's talk about the nested routes and layouts. So let's explore nested routes and how to share layouts across these routes. So imagine this, that layout.js is like a universal standard of all pages within the same folder. So here we have our layout.js, which is a root layout of our whole application. And now we're going to create a separate layout specifically for our blog page. So for example, now let's create a section for our blog posts at blog, and we'll have individual blog posts at blog post 1, blog post 2, etc. So first, let's create the blog folder inside the app directory. So same with as about folder, we'll create here and name it blog. And inside of the blog, we create a new file called, called layout.js. And the layout.js file defines a layout that will be shared by all the pages under the blog route. Let's add some code to the app blog layout.js. So let's go back to our lesson and create copy the starter code. Here's typo. Just ignore it and copy this code here. And also important note is don't forget to import link from next link at the top. We're going to talk about it in just a second. So yeah, the block layout component wraps all pages under the block with a heading block and a navigation menu specific to the block section. Now let's create the main block page at block. So inside app folder and block folder, create a page.js file. So let's go here, create a new file and name it page.js. Let's go back to our lesson and copy the starter code right here and pasted it here. It has some predefined tailwind classes. And now if we navigate to localhost 3000, instead of about page, we'll go to the blog page. So simply type blog here. We'll see the blog heading from the layout. the block specific navigation, and the content from block page. So yeah, once you open your browser and navigate to localhost 3000 dash block, slash block, you should see two different layouts. So the first one is like the root layout of our application, and the second one is layout specifically for blog page, so we can navigate between our posts, home, and it says welcome to the blog. And now we're gonna talk about why is it important to import the link from next slash link. So let's update our main navigation in app-layout.js to include links to the about and blog pages. So essentially what the link does, it makes it easier to navigate between pages. So as you can see, we have those home, about, and it statically generates, so it doesn't involve anything on the backend on our server, so we can like directly navigate across our application between different files. So open your app layout.js and simply delete this code if you had something before that, and we're gonna copy this code right here from our lesson. So simply copy it here, paste it in our layout.js, and now our main navigation includes links to, if you go here, so yeah, now our main navigation includes links to home, about, and blog pages. And the link component once again enables client-side navigation, meaning page transitions are faster and smoother without full page reloads, so we don't have to reload, like it's not going to reload the whole website once we want to navigate across pages. So we can simply go to home page, about page, blog page, and it takes literal milliseconds. So as we tried it in our browser, let's talk about dynamic routes and learn how to create those. So dynamic routes allow us to create pages that have variable paths. This is very useful for pages like blog posts, user profiles, products, etc. And in Next.js, we create dynamic routes by wrapping the whole thing, like the folder name, in square brackets. So let's create dynamic routes for individual blog posts. So inside the app slash blog folder, create a new folder named slug. So go here, create a new folder. Don't forget the brackets, name is slug. And the slug folder indicates that this is a dynamic route segment. The slug can be any string, and it will be available to us in our component. Now we'll create a page.js file inside the slug folder to render individual blog posts. So inside the app blog slug, create a page.js file and add the following code to this file by going back to our lesson and copying this code right here, paste it here. And in the app router, dynamic route parameters are accessible via the parameters property. And now if we navigate to our blog slash post 1, we should get something like the page is now rendered for post 1. So yeah, it works perfectly. Now we have our post, like blog post 1, and we can replace post 1 with any other value like post 2, post 3, etc., and the page will render accordingly. And this is how we create dynamic routes in Next.js using the app router. Okay, so let's do a quick exercise to reinforce what we just learned. And the exercise would be, so the first step would be creating a projects folder under the app directory. After that, try to add a page.js that lists some of your personal projects, whether it's from school, coding projects, or any other stuff, or up to your preference once again. And step 3 would be creating a dynamic route under the projects slash brackets id slash page.js to show details of a specific project, its description, date, what did you do, some actual proof that this is your project, maybe some links to other websites. And the last step would be updating the main navigation to include a link to the projects page. And use what we've just learned about routing and dynamic routes to accomplish this. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to try this out. Welcome back, hope you completed the task, and if you did so, you can check the solution, the example solution in our lesson, and I'm not gonna go through it because you can just like kind of play it on your own. And what I want to say is that excellent work today, guys. let's recap what we've just learned quickly. So we learned about static routes, created by adding folders and page.js files in the app directory. We also talked about nested routes and layouts using layout.js to share UI components across nested routes. We also talked about dynamic routes, created by using square brackets in folder names to accept different dynamic parameters, such as slug, for our blog post rendering. And the last, we talked about linking between pages, so using the link component from next/link for client-side navigation. In the next lesson, we'll dive into data fetching in Next.js, learning how to fetch data in server components and handle loading and error states. Feel free to explore and experiment with routing in your own projects and just kind of play with it. And if you have any questions, now it is a great time to ask. You can just directly reach out to my team or me using my social media like TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I will kindly answer your any question regarding the course, curriculum, or just personal questions. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today, and see you on the next lesson. Happy hacking!